Should I clap as well?
Yeah. Perfect. Welcome back to Unsigned Berlin. Just quickly, thank you very much to our sponsors at Soundplate Clicks and the Music Streaming Awards. I'm sat here today with Half of a Rainbow, previous guest from all the way back in episode 14, which is 55 episodes ago or something. We have a new set, new gear. We're back, minus Conan, who you're still working with, but not for this specific song, if I'm right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that is Only in My Dreams, in parentheses, I Can Hide. And we'll listen to a little snippet of that now.
Only in dreams I can hide. Only in dreams I can hide.
And that was Only in Dreams.
That was quite fast. Cool.
Can you explain a little bit about the Dream Archives, the single, what the whole kind of concept of this is? Or maybe start with what got you first interested in dreams and sleep, and then we'll get to the project later.
I think the first, like, what initiated the whole project of the Dream Archives, which is like this website that I set up where I'm collecting my dreams in written form, basically, is I don't know. I had a dream, or I'm still having a dream diary, basically, which for some years I've done quite regularly, like having the process of having an interesting dream, waking up instantly, like making a voice recording on my phone,
right,
and then going to sleep again, and then the next day I wake up, I'm like, I've completely forgotten what happened, but I listen back to the voice recording, I'm like, this is really interesting. This is really.
But the voice recordings make sense, or are they kind of? Oh, okay. Because I looked back at. I do the same thing occasionally. I'll be like, I'll wake up and then I'll like write the dream, or I'll dictate it to my phone. And just before this interview, like last night, I was trying to find where I'd written them, and one of them was just like incomprehensible. None of it made any sense.
Yeah, some are like that for me as well. It's I don't do like the dictation on my phone. I do like an actual voice recording.
Right.
So then I can listen back and kind of interpret stuff that I said and the way I said it, because sometimes there's stuff that doesn't make sense, and I'm like, okay, I just have to kind of guess what I meant, and then I listen back and I write them down if they're interesting enough. And basically that whole thing has inspired a lot of songs that I've written in the last years, and even song ideas, like full like fucking melody ideas and stuff like that, I've had in dreams as well, which is actually really cool. Like I have a cool melody, I'm waking up, I'm like, this is sick, I have to record this, and then I just wake up and make a song immediately, and that's been really that's been super inspiring. So I wanted to make like a project that actually shifts the focus on dreams themselves, I think, because it's super interesting, super inspiring.
And the project is built up of, there's the single, which we just heard a little snippet of, there's the sleep tapes, and then there's the dream journal, and there's a couple other small things. Can you explain maybe first what the idea of the sleep tapes is that are available on just Bandcamp, right?
Yeah. So it's basically, it's different audio recordings of me falling asleep. And there's not really a lot happening. It's like 8 different audio recordings that I made on I bought a little a Walkman, and it has a recording function, and it sounds really shit, but it works, and it's cool. And so sometimes I've recorded like demos with it. But then I just had the idea, like one night I had the idea, I just want to kind of capture the time frame in which I fall asleep. So I just press record on the Walkman, I fall asleep, and then it just records until the tape runs out, basically, which is like mostly like, it's like 20 to 40 minutes, like depending on the tape I used. But I just found the idea interesting that there would be a recording and you can't really hear anything. It's mostly just like basic noise, right? And you can hear me like I don't know, saying a word or two.
Yeah.
But somewhere in there, I'm falling asleep,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. It's just
It's like
happening.
capturing a moment of switching between worlds almost.
Yeah, basically.
Cool.
And you can't hear it, but you know it's in there, you know.
Yeah.
And I found that really interesting.
Yeah. And with the thing that we just quickly talked about before, but one part of it is the excerpt of an essay
Yeah.
written by, don't remember the name.
Brian Strauss.
Brian Strauss.
He's great, you know.
Does he exist? Because I was like, I read it and I was like, this seems like it's really an essay.
Yeah.
But it's about you. But it was supposedly written in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's about the project, but it's also about the Unabomber.
I found it really funny to just put it on the website. Like, I wrote that, obviously.
Right, okay.
And okay, basically the main idea back then when I recorded the sleep tapes, the recordings of me falling asleep, when I recorded them, the idea was, like, the initial idea was that I would set up a whole website just around the sleep tapes, where there would just be a ton of essays, like, on the sleep tapes by different people. They're like, yeah, that's great. It was such a great performance art project in the 90s. And
just spreading misinformation.
Basically. Almost. But
yeah.
It was actually inspired by a book that has really like kind of shaped my youth, which is House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski, I think you call him.
Okay.
He's a great American author, and he wrote this whole book, which is like, it's obviously all fiction, but like, it's this whole book of, there's something documented, and the whole book is made of, it's kind of like one big essay, and it's pretending to be like a really accurate essay about something that happened.
Right.
And it then mixes like, it's a very experimental book, and it mixes like real sources with just made up stuff, with just made up sources.
Right.
And you can't really tell the difference, and you're reading it and you're like, this is like a proper dissertation, you know, but it's not real. It's all made up. And he's going into detail in so many aspects where you're like, this is kind of insane. Like, how would someone come up with all of this? Like,
what's the dissertation about?
Well, it's basically, it's about this. It's supposed to be, it has different like reality layers, but it's supposed to be a paper written about this filmmaker who moves in back with his family because they've kind of like distanced themselves from each other. So he moves back in with his woman, with his wife and his children, and he's making a documentary about like how they're getting back together.
Right.
And then weird things start happening in their house, and like some stuff that's like it's a really, I don't know, it's really hard to describe it. Maybe cut some of this out because it's really, I don't know, I'm not making sense right now.
But interesting.
But
we'll put the name in the description.
Yeah, it's a really interesting like sci-fi, psychological thriller kind of thing.
Interesting. Is it a modern? Was it written like recently, or is it
like
more
20 years ago?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter what it's about. It's like it kind of changed my perspective on like it plays a lot with like what is actually true that he's telling. You know what I mean? It's like he's playing a lot with different sources, and like then he's referring to real events that happened as well, which I did in this essay as well, which is like connecting real events to something that's kind of made up, but you make it seem like it happened.
Yeah.
You know?
So with the essay, it talks about the importance of sleep. It talks about a sleep epidemic in Germany and in Europe caused by the Unabomber. Yeah. I'm fascinated by the Unabomber, but I don't know that much. Was the bombing in a news broadcast in Germany true?
Oh no, that was
completely made up. Is the sleep epidemic true?
No,
okay.
That was completely made up.
Seemed real, but I was also thinking, I was like, how did he?
I just felt like to make something like to make an art piece, like this performance art piece, to make that like plausible, to have impact on society, it's like it has to be connected in some way to something in society that happened, like something that kind of, you know, something that has to do with a lot of people. So I made up this whole like epidemic and stuff. But yeah, it was really fun to write.
It was fun to read. I really enjoyed it. But then I was also being like, because I feel like there was enough context in the title. It almost tells you already that it's not real, because it's like written in the 80s, a bit about you and about this project that just came out. And I'm like, I kind of know this isn't real. But then I was reading it and I was like, yeah, you did a really good job of blurring that line between reality and
I wanted to write more essays like this, but when I had finished this one, I was like, I've said everything. So yeah, but yeah, he's a great guy, Brian Strauss.
Not Ted Kaczynski. But were you inspired to do this project on sleep and write about the sleep lack of sleep epidemic based on feeling like right now there's that kind of issue of people not getting enough sleep, or was it more exploring the idea of dreams?
It's more about actually exploring like what's happening in dreams, or like how how can we access creativity in dreams, because it's like it's pure creative process, right? And that's what really fascinates me. You just wake up with an idea that you had in a dream that fascinates you, and you're just like, how did that happen? Like, how did I just come up with that? And fabricate
a whole functioning world that just, functioning. Yeah, basically. It has like completely different rules.
Yeah. And that connection to music as well, is like, I dream about music all the time, or I have like a lot of melodies and songs in my dreams, and sometimes they exist and sometimes it's new ideas, sometimes it's kind of blurred. But yeah, music in dreams is like this other thing where I was like, this is really interesting, because I feel like I have a lot of song ideas or I hear songs that don't exist yet in dreams, and mostly they're really weird and boring. But sometimes there's a good idea where I'm like, well, this is actually really nice, like I'm gonna actually make this into a song.
Right.
Yeah.
Is your creative process when you're writing songs pretty much you have an idea for a song in your head and it's all kind of there, and then you have to try to translate that to the real world, or is it more like mine's pretty improvisation based?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I almost always have like some kind of arrangement in mind already. And now, for example, now with this song Only in Dreams, I've worked with Sasha Bowers. Shout out to Sasha Bowers. And he produced the whole song basically, and we made a completely new arrangement together, or we added a lot of like interesting arrangement to it. And I hadn't really thought of that process before. Like, I kind of had a fixed arrangement, and then when we changed it around and I had someone else's ideas in the song, I was like, this is actually cool. This is like better than what I could have done on my own.
Right.
So it is cool to have a vision, but sometimes like having someone else add ideas and getting someone else's input on it is like really it's really crucial.
Well, I guess it's more of a end goal based process where you're like, I want the end goal to be the same. And the last project you released, which was with Conan, which was the lo-fi, like
the lo-fi
sound wise of like doing tape and everything, was I felt like there was a lot more focus on the process being the most interesting part. And then the end product being the product of the process. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it's like when I worked with Conan on the stuff, we were pretty much co-producers. I feel like now when I'm working with Sasha, it's more like he's taking a lot more like producing responsibility. But it's also they're very different styles of working. Like now it's not on tape anymore, and I'm really glad I quit tape for some time, you know. Like maybe I'll come back to it. I probably will for some stuff, but just now exploring kind of what more hi-fi music can do is the goal. Even though it's not completely hi-fi, it's also very DIY still, but like I just enjoy hearing more highs in the mix, you know.
More of everything. It's like stuff isn't lost at every step, which is it's just a different kind of process, because there's something cool with the tape of there is stuff that's lost, but then
Yeah. And you get no weird surprises mostly, you know? It's like
which kind of sucks though. Of like weird surprises can be a really positive thing of
it can be
being more creative than people.
That's the weird thing. I thought, for example, my song Nightclubs in Heaven, that's like the song that's doing best on streaming services still. And I was really surprised by that because I was like, this is literally my worst production. Like, I hate the production in the song. You know what I mean?
It's such a catchy song.
Yeah.
And for shows, it's really singable. So if you go to one of your shows, then afterwards, like when the song comes up, you're like, oh, this is the song that I remember the most.
I know, but it's really interesting. I've been talking a lot about this with a friend recently, where we were kind of talking about how the production, obviously, like it's easy as an artist to obsess over the production and be like, oh, this little thing could be better and this could be better, but that's not what people connect to in the end. Like the production has to be decent and like deliver the song, but like there can be so much wrong with the production and people will still connect with the initial like song idea and with the performance of it. And I found that really interesting, and I've been saying that, and I've been like kind of affirming that, and then I saw that this like awfully produced song was doing so well, and I was like, that's really, it just affirms the same thing, even though it's weird. I'm not listening to it personally.
I feel like production's what lets people listen to a song, and mixing is what stops people from skipping it immediately because it sounds like shit, and then songwriting is what makes people like a song, really.
Definitely.
And like arrangement and all that side.
Proud of your work as an artist? If you're wondering how you can proudly display your streaming achievements at home or in the studio, look no further than Music Streaming Awards, your one-stop destination for personalized framed awards showcasing your streaming success. Whether you've hit your first 1,000 streams or you're well into the millions, Music Streaming Awards has got you covered. To get your very own award and display your important milestones, just visit musicstreamingawards.com. And that's not all. Use the code Unsigned for an exclusive 10% discount. That's Music Streaming Awards. Immortalize your streaming success.
The single, Only in Dreams, is part of upcoming EP.
Yes.
Is that all pretty, not hi-fi focused, but like not lo-fi like the previous album?
Yeah, it's like it's a very kind of new direction, production-wise, also songwriting-wise, because there's one song that's going to be released, not going to spoil it now, but it's more, the lyricism is also more obviously dream-oriented and a bit more like associative, and not as obvious. And I think that's a really interesting direction.
Right. So. Is the EP made of songs that came from dreams, or is it just stuff associated with the project?
Yeah, basically stuff around dreams. Like the song Only in Dreams was obviously like about dreams.
Yeah, that would have been a crazy dream to have, and then be like, this is perfect for my project.
There's another song that I'm gonna release later this year, which came directly from a dream. Like the melody and part of the lyrics came directly from there. Nice. But that's gonna be announced.
For this project, are you working with Sasha Bowers on all of the songs, or is it more of a mix of different producers?
No, we worked on,
did everything together,
all of these songs basically. It's gonna be 3 songs, and we did Only in Dreams, we produced that, and then I was like, this is sick, I want to make a full EP out of this, and then I kind of obsessed over the idea, this should be a 3-song EP, like, and I had some songs to choose from, and then I brought them to him, and then we produced them in like no time, basically. It was quite fast. I was quite surprised, actually.
Nice. Well, when did you do it?
Only in Dreams we finished in January, I think, and the other 2 we did in February, I think.
Okay.
And that's it.
And quick to come out as well then, after that. Yeah.
But I just like the idea of, right now I just want to release stuff that I'm really feeling, because I think the problem with the album that I released last year was the songs were so long in the making. Some of the songs I was already kind of rejecting when I released them. Like they were already like 2 years old and like had been mixed since a year or so, and I hadn't brought them out, and I was kind of like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm not really feeling it. And then I still released it, and now I'm really glad it's out, and I'm really glad like people are enjoying them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just kind of want to establish a faster process with like finishing something, then releasing it, especially when I can right now. It's
Yeah.
like when I'm not bound to a label where they give me a schedule. You know what I mean?
That's something really nice about like a 3-song EP as well, is
Yeah.
that for me, I feel like I'm not really releasing a lot of stuff right now. I'm doing production projects for other people, but I will get really excited by an idea for my own project and then work on it, and then I get like distracted for a little bit, and then I don't have the same energy to go back to it and be like, this is something that needs to be continued, or I get distracted by something else. And if it's something short like a 3-song EP, you can kind of, like you did, make it, release it, move on to the next thing that's interesting. And
I think that's great. And then you're not overthinking.
Yeah, and there's lots of pressure to put out stuff consistently now, but just putting out singles all the time just sucks.
Yeah.
It's just like there's so little space for creativity.
Yeah, definitely.
The EPs is like a nice little middle ground.
Yeah, and even with like, I think people are always like more hyped for a consistent project in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you have to, I guess, tease them with singles and like make a bit of hype around singles, but people are still looking forward so much to like these consistent projects like EPs or albums where they're like, yeah, this is like one piece of art that consists of different chapters basically.
Yeah.
Like that's still amazing, and that's still also what I want to do, like release singles but also like compile them in one piece basically where they
And I really like how you've built a little, not, I don't know, a world is probably a bad term, but like a little there's lots of different aspects of it. It's not just music. There's also the art that's on the website, that's on the thumbnails, which is really nice.
My friend made that, which is really nice.
Who is it?
You know BB Hilkai?
No, but it'll be in the description.
I'll ask her if she wants herself mentioned.
Yeah, cool. We can beep it out. And there's the essay, and there's the sleep tapes, and the sleep archives as well.
Dream archives.
Dream archives, yeah. Do you want to do a little reading of one of the dreams?
Yeah. Why not?
There's the table there, maybe, if it's still got stuff in. The couch is only €50, but it's a nice couch.
Okay, let's see. Cool, yeah, I like this one. It's called Brandon Kermit. So that was on 10th of May 2021, quite a while ago. But when I listened back to these audio recordings, it always takes a while. I have so many that like I have to, like, I'm still transcribing dreams from like back then.
Damn.
And I have to catch up. So,
so more to come.
Yeah.
Can you use like software for that, or is it the same amount of work anyway because you still have to read them?
I could use software for this. You know what I mean? That would be so crazy. But
if I had access to audio software.
Yeah, I'm still doing it. Like, I still change things around when I'm like interpreting some stuff that I said, and like Okay, this is called Brandon Kermit. Together with a group of 6 to 7 people, I explored a sewage water system at night. We had a lot of fun in there. At the same time, we swam underwater in a kind of pool and also had a dog with us. At the end of the corridor was a guy called Brandon Kermit, who was there watching porn and therefore wanted to be alone. He owned the sewage water system. We left him alone but made fun of him at the same time. When we came out, 2 of us were attacked and brutally beaten up for entering the sewers. One of the attackers said, "They will rot in jail." I could already see how Brandon Kermit would help us get revenge in the future. Yeah, that's the dream.
So, I really liked reading the ones that were up on the website because, well, partially they were interesting and weird and kind of funny, but also because I feel like a lot of the times when I talk to people about dreams they have, for example, when I talk to my girlfriend, it's usually stuff like, oh yeah, no, we were like on holiday with like my family. It's like really connected to just
Yeah.
normal life.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I have weird dreams like that where it's
Yeah.
like just completely disconnected from anything, and there's weird things like you know that the guy owns the sewers
Yeah.
without any
you
very
just know.
you're just like, oh, he's the guy that owns the sewers.
Yeah, that's the great thing. I think it's so relatable, and I love listening to other people's dreams as well. I was also thinking of opening a new section on the website where I just like include other people's dreams, basically, like anonymously, because people have been telling me dreams, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. I want to publish this, you know. Yeah. And that's the cool thing about this project. I think it got me talking with a lot of people about dreams a bit more.
Yeah.
And I think that's really nice.
So if you have any weird dreams, leave them below.
Like,
or,
literally send them to me, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always looking for interesting dreams.
Might be a cool thing for your newsletter.
Yeah.
To have like included in, because I would definitely open.
Yeah.
There's always like we have the same thing with, because we have a newsletter attached to the podcast, and we include upcoming gigs and like direct ticket links and a video spotlight and stuff. But it's difficult to find a way to really provide value to someone for an exchange.
Yeah.
Them giving you their email and like direct access to them. But I would definitely, I would. I mean, I'm signed up already, but but I would sign up for more dream stuff. Is there a different thing that you're already looking at for the next project that you're finding interesting right now? Because obviously this project's still in progress, but the songwriting part of it is done. Is there another thing that you're kind of like excited by right now that you want to get into next?
I still want to keep a bit of momentum of myself, like for the whole dream world, basically. Because I think that it still really fascinates me, and it has fascinated me for a long time. And I think there's gonna be more that's gonna happen around it.
Cool.
So it's kind of like a work in progress still. It's not like, it's still gonna expand over the next months, I think.
Have you gotten into a lot of people like do dream journals, dream archives, and then try to kind of divine meaning from it, whether it's like a European, there's like lots of different I guess schools of what different things in your dreams might mean. Have you gotten into any of that, or is it
not really? I think it's more interesting when it's just
what it is.
When it's just what it is, and you kind of take it like, oh, that was really weird and interesting, but it doesn't have to be more. Sometimes, I mean, you can see like a personal meaning for yourself, but I haven't really been getting into like proper like interpretation of dreams, if that's possible. I think it's way more interesting when it's like what I see in other art forms as well, when like one of my favorite writers, Franz Kafka, he like, when you read his diaries, he writes down dreams, and then sometimes you have sections where he writes something and you can't really tell whether this is still a dream or not, and then he's starting like kind of a story out of a dream, like he's just taking his dream and then making it into a story and stuff like that, which is really interesting. Or like dream related, like David Lynch films, for example. It's like I feel like they're taking so much from dreams, but they're not trying to, like his films are not trying to give dreams
meaning,
a very literal meaning. They're just kind of taking imagery from them and that is the meaning in itself, I think.
Do you have a favorite Kafka book or text, or something you would recommend to people who haven't gotten into it?
I think I don't know what the English title is, but Der Prozess. It's amazing. Have you read it?
No. Is it the one, the kind of famous cockroach one?
Oh no. That's Metamorphosis.
Okay.
But
similar.
I mean, you can always read that. That's a great one as well.
But I guess it would be The Process. Yeah.
But I guess so. It's
we'll
like,
link it.
It's fantastic. It's like it's one of his novels, and it's amazing. Like you just feel like you're constantly in a weird dream, kind of, where weird stuff happens. You know, people behave in really strange ways.
Yeah, watching porn in the sewers.
Yeah.
But, hey, it's their sewers.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Really, you're trespassing, if anything.
Yeah.
And same for David Lynch. Do you have a favorite David Lynch film?
Yeah, I mean, Inland Empire, his last
Don't know
one, is amazing. Like, which ones have you seen?
Blue Velvet, Dune. Then he had like a short one on Netflix a couple years ago
I
with
saw
the
that.
monkey.
That was really cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I like his movies, but I don't really like him as a person. I feel like
No,
he comes off as
is-
a horrible person in
Really?
interviews. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. He seems very arrogant to me.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, he's a specific
Yes.
person. Yeah.
And I feel like there's another one that I've seen. I don't know. But
But
I like similar in the kind of vibe to Poor Things, which came out recently. Of
yeah,
just
you know
like
what? Poor Things. The beginning of
yeah.
Poor Things really reminded me of his first film, Eraserhead, which was
Right.
really weird. Like, I felt like it took a bit of like the aesthetics from it, which
Yeah.
was really cool.
Yeah.
But then it went into a whole different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got any video stuff coming attached to this EP?
Not really. I've been working on like social media videos and stuff like that.
Right.
But I'm a bit like, I don't have any specific visual like video ideas right now that I wanna do for this project. But it could come, you know what I mean? It's like I'm really open. This is like still like an open process of the project.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have this art performance attached to it. I have the dreams, and maybe there's gonna be something visual.
This is a super disconnected question, but do you dream in first person or more like a movie where it's like shots?
It really depends. I think sometimes as kind of a movie.
Right.
Or I have a lot of dreams that I wrote down where I was just saying like, this felt like watching a movie at the same time.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people have that. And I find that super interesting as well because, it's actually, when I talk to my grandparents, for example, people from that generation, they sometimes dream in black and white.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. And then, like,
Yeah,
I've read about
true.
that once, and then I talked to them, and then my grandpa was like, yeah, I dreamt in black and white last night. I was like, what? And it has to do with, like, the way that they were watching TV when they grew up and stuff.
Right.
Like, in some way, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But, like...
That's so interesting.
And then I thought about, like, we also, like, feel like... I, for example, sometimes dream from the perspective of, like, a fucking GTA character.
Right. Where it's like third person following.
And or
I've
like
never had that.
or like I'm driving a car and it looks like driving a car in GTA 5. Like just because I've played these video games.
Yeah.
But like people from my grandparents' generation, they haven't played these video games. And
Yeah,
they don't
I
have
didn't
that
grow up
perspective
gaming.
in their dreams.
Yeah.
And I find that super interesting.
It would be interesting to see a generation sort of like not as in not as in like 10 years below us, but
Yeah.
a full generation below us of, I feel like media consumption's becoming increasingly based on immersiveness and trying to push it as close to reality as possible.
Mhm.
And it'd be interesting to see if kind of that weird dream state of being in a weird, like a less immersive state of reality kind of disappears, and they just
Yeah.
go back to what it probably would have been 300 years ago before there were books and that. But for
Yeah.
music, do you, when you're dreaming of songs, is it you playing them, or are you listening to them, or is it completely separate from like a human experience? It's just kind of a song that exists in your mind.
It really depends. There's all forms of it. I think
Right. Because
I-
surely people who don't play music
they dream less
Dream-
of music. Yeah.
but
maybe.
wouldn't dream of playing a song,
Yeah.
probably, but might of listening to a song that doesn't exist.
I think I haven't had a dream where I was playing the music. It's mostly like other people, or it's just playing or someone singing something. I once had a dream that that I was the last person to remember a specific John Lennon song, and like then I had to like write it down and make a demo of it, because otherwise it would be forgotten. And I was the last person to remember it. There was
Have you
no one else.
seen a movie that's very similar to that?
The movie
Yesterday.
Yeah. So it's a terrible movie.
Have you seen it though, or is it like?
I've
Oh,
seen
okay.
it.
So it might have been connected. But
Maybe.
or it might have maybe
that's
you had
so
the dream
true. I
before.
haven't made that connection. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not it's not a great movie, but it's not terrible. I don't know. It's a nice family. It's an amazing airplane movie. Like if you just have a long flight.
That's crazy. I haven't made that connection, but I've seen that film, and maybe that was afterwards.
It'd be interesting to know though if maybe the film was afterwards, and you just like coincidentally had that.
I would have to look it up. I think I've written it down somewhere.
Because I have that sometimes especially with locations. I'll dream of a location, and then maybe a few months later, or like maybe a year later, I'll go to a place for the first time and be like, oh, this is this I had in my dream. And I don't know if it's you just dream of enough places that's gonna happen, because there's a limited number of ways spaces can be. But no, I've had that lots of times.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you feel like you're actually seeing the place in reality for the first time.
Yeah. So like, there's definitely ones that have been more recent, but I remember one that really stuck, because it was like, this is in a completely different country and everything, is I was doing a German language camp.
Yeah.
Well, actually, in the dream, like 6 months ahead of time, I remember coming out of like a corridor and running with a bunch of people through a classroom into a garden. And then 6 months later went to this German language camp, and I was like, oh, this is that exact classroom.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But then I'm pretty like science minded, I feel like, and feel like I keep trying to find a way of being like, I probably just dream of a lot of spaces, and like if that happens, maybe it's like statistically likely to happen occasionally that stuff just lines up.
That's super interesting. I haven't had that actually.
There are people that have like that. I don't know if my mum told me at some point that they work with police, but I don't know if that's true or if it's but there's people who often dream of things before they happen, and are sometimes brought in on investigations of like they had dreams about a specific crime that then they use as like, oh, maybe this could be useful if you remember that, we can go look if this lines up with your dream. I don't know if that's real, but if it is, it's really cool.
It would be crazy if that was real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had it recently that I had a dream about a specific like house, and then I had another dream like weeks later where there was the same house, but you could see it from the outside, but I knew it was the same house for some reason. Like the first dream was inside, the other dream was outside of the house, and I knew somehow it was the same house, but up until then I hadn't even remembered the other dream, and it was really strange. But I haven't really seen places before I've actually seen them in dreams.
No, that's really weird.
That's insane.
But I did like a quote that was, I think it's on the top of your website, and I don't remember the exact quote, and I should have noted it down.
From Andrei Tarkovsky.
Yeah. About not knowing, about you spend so much of your life in sleep dreaming that it's just as much a reality as as real life, supposedly real life, and there's just as many verifiable ways of it's showing that it is. It's not
part of the human experience, right? It's you're still experiencing life and yourself in dreams. It's not as separate as we always think it is. I think.
Super fascinating project, fascinating website.
Yeah,
very nice single. We've done about 40 minutes. Is there anything you want to get off your chest? It could be promo. It could be, I saw this thing recently in the news and I thought it was interesting. Anything you want to say before we finish up?
Fuck, I should have thought of this before.
You can think about it now. We can keep rolling.
Yeah. Anything I read in the news?
Is there any, like, I feel like it seems like you read a lot of philosophy oriented stuff.
Yeah.
Has there been anything you've read recently that's been really just been lots of new ideas that you found interesting?
It's really unrelated. I'm just reading a lot of like dream unrelated. I bought this book that's called Kafka Dreams, and it's like dreams of Franz Kafka.
I
And
think
that's really funny.
Is it a graphic novel
No.
kind of thing? Okay,
No.
there's something similar that is in my brain somewhere of like a, I don't know, cartoonized Kafka based thing. Anyway, continue.
I just saw this book and I was like, this is my two interests, Franz Kafka and dreams, and it's just like a book combined itself.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's great. Shout out to Sasha Bowers. That's my thought for the end.
Yeah, cool. The single is out everywhere. You can find Johannes, you can find Half of a Rainbow through in the description or on Instagram or wherever you find people, whatever your preference is. And thank you very much, everyone who's listening, for listening. If you can leave a review, that helps us a lot, both for feedback and for algorithm purposes. If you can share, always great. Thanks again to our sponsors at Soundplate Clicks and the Music Streaming Awards. And see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.